Meet Charlotte Peck, Lottie to her friends. Such a sweet face. For a ghost. Back in the 1880s, this Victorian mansion in Rye, New York was her home. Actually, the attic was more like it. You see, Lottie's family thought she was crazy, and they locked her away in this room. One night, she set part of the house on fire and died trying to escape. Some believe that Lottie has been haunting ever since. One true believer was celebrated portrait artist Molly Guillaume. She and her husband, John Smythe, bought the house in 1957. Shortly after they moved in, strange things began to happen, like doors that would open and slam all by themselves. Footsteps on empty stairways. And as the current owners, Peter and Barbara Barrett, were to find out, there were other problems.
Later we heard from the neighbors after we moved in that Molly had felt the ghost was making too many long-distance phone calls, so she had all the phones taken out. And that the ghost used to bang doors all the time. When they put the holes in the wall, that was so the spirits could go through the walls and not bang doors. I was very nervous when we closed up the last hole.
Molly's homemade remedies didn't work. This was a job for a professional ghost hunter. Professor Hans Holzer is an expert in the field of the unexplained. Holzer has written numerous books on the subject, including Murder in Amityville, which became the movie Amityville 2, The Possession. A little over 20 years ago, the professor made his first investigation into this so-called haunted house.
There were physical phenomena. An ashtray was literally thrown at people in one of the upstairs rooms. A bread knife slowly took off in the kitchen in plain daylight on a Sunday morning in plain view of Mr. Smythe, his wife Molly Guillaume, the painter, and her mother. And I've talked to all three of them, and I'm convinced they are not imagining and they're telling the truth.
So why would anybody buy a house like that?
Because nobody bothered to tell us that it was haunted. We moved here from Kentucky. We didn't know anyone in town. And the previous owner forgot to mention the point that it was haunted.
Now, there have been some goings-on here in this house that you can't explain. We've had some experiences in the house for which I don't have any particular explanation. I simply refuse to blame it on Lottie or Mrs. Wainwright or any other apparition.
Yes, but Peter was not that skeptical about Lottie's legend when he pursued her portrait.
And I had heard that the previous owner had done this painting of her, and I thought she belonged in here and it would be a wonderful Mother's Day present. So I went to search with a number of lawyers through several estates to finally track it down in New Jersey. Now, we hear that your son Andrew talks to Lottie. He claims that he talks to Lottie, and more significantly, he claims she talks back to him. Yes.
Good night, Lottie.
Andrew's chats with Lottie may be nothing more than a child's fantasy. Who knows? Professor Holzer might. That's why we asked him back for another look.
What was your feeling when Professor Holzer decided to come back to this home? I was very excited because I had seen several of his books which talk about this house, and I had actually tried through the publisher and through the university to track him down unsuccessfully to ask him some questions about his experiences here.
I was really excited and very anxious to meet him. And yet there's a very small part of me that thought, oh, but what if he comes out and stirs something up in the house?
Professor Holzer has had ghost encounters all across the world, and at this house 23 years ago. How would he explain the strange occurrences the Barretts were having? Does the spirit of the young woman known as Lottie still haunt the house? Find out tomorrow as Professor Holzer returns. Hear of his experiences there and those of the present owners as our PM Magazine Ghost Encounters continues. this lovely Victorian home in Rye, New York, be haunted? The owners, Peter and Barbara Barrett, say the house is no stranger to things unexplained. And according to parapsychologist Hans Holzer, this house has a history of ghostly encounters. As a best-selling author on spirits and psychic phenomena, Professor Holzer has traveled the world in search of ghosts, which brought him here over 20 years ago. At that time, the owner, Molly Guyon, strongly believed that the house was haunted and asked Holzer to investigate. With the help of two psychics, Holzer discovered the spirit of a young woman who died in a fire at the house in the 19th century. Her name was Lottie. Holzer also claims to have convinced Lottie to let go of this world and enter that of another, to her final resting place.
But do you think that people would believe that?
I'm not interested in what people believe or not believe in. I'm here to do my job, to investigate, and my work does not rest on belief, it doesn't rest on acceptance. It's a scientific form of investigating phenomena of the human personality.
Since Lottie supposedly pestered the previous owners with her ghostly pranks, could it be that she was once again up to her old tricks with the new folks? The Barrett family certainly didn't have the answers, but hoped the professor would.
Ghosts are the exception from the rule. They are like psychotics. They are like people who have lost the body but have their consciousness intact and are confused and upset and don't understand about themselves.
Still, the Barretts were baffled over an incident that occurred when a new kitchen floor was put in. Barbara noticed some holes in the wood that weren't there when the carpenter finished the job the day before.
So he went and he filled all the holes that were there and he put the stain on. He came back the next day to polyurethane it, and I took him into the kitchen and I said, we have a problem. When he looked at the floor, there were just as many holes the second day as there had been the first. And he said, I've been in the business 20 years and I absolutely cannot tell you I could fill one hole and not see the two right next to it.
Well, that fits the pattern of a attention-getting attempt on the part of an entity who has not been getting the attention of late that he or she wants. I would suspect that whoever the entity was at that time in the house, if there was one in fact, would have caused this.
Was Lottie to blame? Perhaps she had some remodeling ideas of her own. Could she also be the cause of the mysterious water leaks in the house?
Well, in so-called haunted houses, there is a phenomenon known as the moisture in the air being condensed and coming down in the form of water, sometimes in buckets. It's not unique. I've had cases of this before. It's not supernatural. It's not threatening. But when there is an energy present in the atmosphere, the moisture somehow seems to be collected.
Holzer believes that energy, psychic energy, is shown in this unusual photo taken of the house in broad daylight by network news crew. The professor also believes you may be looking at two ghosts.
There are two heads. One is of a man and one is apparently of a girl. Now, it isn't terribly clear, and yet it seems to me that this might be Lottie and another person, perhaps someone else connected with the house. Kodak had no explanation. They sent ABC back to me, and of course this is not unique. Similar pictures have been taken elsewhere.
Was Peter or Barbara Barrett expecting any uninvited visitors now that Dr. Holzer had returned?
My house goes on the market in the next 2 weeks.
You're out of here.
You know that I saw something happen.
Now, really, what do you think you would do if you did see something happen?
I'm not sure, but I also don't know that I would be comfortable staying in the house. Depends what I saw.
We call for Professor Holzer immediately, obviously, right?
So do you think the ghosts are completely gone in this home?
It's my feeling that since the successive owners of the house have not had any remarkable experiences, that there's nothing here after all those years, I would assume that after what we did, there shouldn't be anything, but you can't be sure. After all, with ghosts, you can't be sure.